classes. And the basic building blocks are the 3,000-pound blocks you see behind you here. Two kinds of ice. You'll see what we call the white ice, or Arctic marble, and below that the Arctic diamond. And this is caused from freezing and thawing and freezing and thawing. This is caused just from a slow, steady freeze all the way through the season. And they use both. They use both for different things, and you'll see some of that, you know, throughout the museum, how they use one or the other, and so forth. That 2.5-foot thick wall there, as you can see, the building is 25 feet tall, so that was quite an engineering feat. And not to mention the fact that by the time they finished, the blood, sweat, and tears and man-hours of aggravation of erecting it, it became so infamous they dubbed it the Great Wall of China. And the building was a hotel, and you too can still stay here if you want overnight for $575. But we have to call it a museum because a hotel needs a sprinkler system. Right. Which in a building that's frozen does not make sense. But anyway, it does have 4 bedrooms in the back. It's got the bar, it's got the fireplace, a nice warm orange glow to the fireplace. You're not going to get a lot of heat off of that, but it's got some good detail in the logs. In fact, Steve and Heather had their initials carved in a heart on one of them. This is Steve's latest work. It's an abstract. Someone said it looked like a bunch of grapes. I think it looks like salmon roe myself. Yeah. And this is Venus II. I don't know what kind of shape she was in when you were here last. I'm fond of telling people I've never had an X quite shaped like this, but I've had several that felt like this. That's terrible. I shouldn't say that. But Venus I disappeared through sublimation, and you can see the same things happening to her. Evaporations where you go from a liquid to a gas, sublimations where you go from a solid to a gas. Okay. And so she went by way of sublimation. This one replaced her. And she's kind of going that way as well, as they all will. Ice artifacts will last about 2 years in a good environment. We have some in here going on 4, so that's a good thing. I think this one's being helped along by some touching of inappropriate places with ungloved hands. I'm seeing some drips and things coming down in certain areas. But where she is made of the diamond, of course, this is made of the marble or white ice. And so you can see how they do different things artistically by using the two. What's neat about the tower is the fact that the only architecture here is ice, and you've got a spiral staircase that goes all the way up to the viewing platform at the top. We used to allow people to go up there, but they were finding unsafe ways to come down, especially close to the center where there's very little in the way of a step there. Right. And so we had to rope it off to protect everybody from themselves. This jack-o'-lantern that you see here has got a lot of detail to it. And what surprises a lot of people about the jack-o'-lantern is that it is a true jack-o'-lantern in every sense of the word. And by looking behind you, you can see how they use the marble and the diamond by doing things like putting the Queen Anne symbol inside. And here's where, if you get off of the carpet, you probably won't be upright for very long. The joust exhibit, of course, is the piece of resistance for the museum. Steve did this in 2005, so it's going on 4 years. And it's had 4 years of sublimation, but there's still a tremendous amount of detail in the saddlery and the armor. The shards don't go out as far as they used to, but you know, this guy's not even in the saddle. He's up out of the saddle. He's thrusting the lance forward. It's going into this guy's armor. He's being thrown back. The shards are going in all directions. His leg is up in the air. The horse is turned at an angle. It's just a real tremendous work of art.
Now, when do they do their? When do they work? I mean,
all the time.
There are people in here?
No, they can do it anytime. You know, most of what they've been doing recently, well, Steve's been recovering from surgery, but most of what they're doing recently is just making the glasses. And now they've got the harvest done, they'll start on some new projects, I'm sure. Right. This is the world's largest ice chess set. It's all ice and gleams, so the pieces are polar bears and totems and ravens and foxes and things like that. You can see by interspersing the white and the diamond ice how they make the checkerboard. Each piece has got felt on the bottom. It is a working chess set, and I understand that sometime later this year, I'm not sure exactly when, they're supposed to have a chess tournament. They'll be playing chess on it. I have a feeling that those pieces are not light. Yeah. This is the wedding gazebo. We do perform marriages here on an occasional basis anyway. We've done over 100 so far. If you're in a strapless gown, I'm sure it's I do, let's get the heck out of here kind of stuff. But, you know, Steve and Heather created the wedding pavilion and they got married in it, which is kind of cool. Yeah. And we were trying to figure out something to serve the kids while the adults were having the apple martini. We thought, well, let's make a deal with Coca-Cola. Well, what better way to make a deal with Coca-Cola than to create the Coca-Cola Christmas polar bear? So we did that. Unfortunately, we found out that when you pour Coke or anything non-alcoholic into an ice glass, it
foams over.
Slush.
Oh, okay,
so,
right.
That didn't work out, but the bear's still with us. He's a work in progress. eventually, as I understand, the fishing pond out in front, a fishing rod in his hand. He's going to be holding the latest catch of the day from that. Speaking of hanging, if you look above you, you'll find 5 chandeliers in the museum total, all with hand-carved ice pebbles, and if you watch them long enough, about every 60 seconds or so, you'll see them change color. We have a total of 8 colors that represent the colors of the aurora borealis. And what ice museum would not be complete without the ubiquitous igloo, quintessential home of all Alaskans. You guys are from Alaska, are you?
Yes.
Okay, so it's just like your home and home then. Or at least as everybody outside thinks you should be living in it. So, you know, a couple things you can do when exploring the igloo. One is look for the hologram on the opposite wall. It was never a part of the artist's intent. And the second thing is, if you ever wanted to audition for American Idol, that's the place to do it, because your shower at home cannot hold a candle to the way you sound in there. So you'll have to try that out. And then, of course, you have the 4 themed bedrooms. If you ever wanted to stay in here for an overnight stay. You've got the Christmas room, which becomes apparent as soon as you step inside. The polar bear room, equally as apparent as soon as you step inside. You have the Gothic bedroom, which has got the most ornate bed of all. And finally, my favorite, the Queen's bedroom. We also call it the throne room. And if you've been in there before, you know why. As I tell people, feel free to assume the position on the throne. Do not feel free to use it. And finally, we have the Ice Princess. She has a martini glass in one hand and a globe in the other. And she watches over the museum at all times. So feel free to walk around and take shots. And if I can answer any questions for you, I'll certainly do that, or try anyway.
How many times a year do you do the ice harvest? Is it just a one time
Once.
a year? Okay.
Yep. Just once a year we go out to the meter pond and pull it out.
Okay. I'm sure it's a laborious process.
Well, it's, like I say, each of those blocks are 3,000 pounds. And what they'll do is they'll just take a long chainsaw, and they'll, you know, after they take the snow off of the ice, they'll just cut the first block. And as soon as they get it cut all around, it'll bob up about an inch or 2.
Okay.
And that'll leave them just enough room to slip a chain underneath it, and then hook it to a hoist and pull it out, and load that onto a truck or front end loader.
Okay.
And then from then on, they just start cutting the blocks going out and just float them into where that one was at and lift them out.
Cool.
So it's, you know, it's a pretty methodical process. So have you guys been living in Anchorage long?
I've been there about 10 years.
Okay. You know who Maria Downey is in Channel 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hired her.
Oh, wow.
She and I are the exact same age.
Really?
Yeah. When I was the assistant news director at Channel 13, John Valentine and I hired her out of Fort Lauderdale, and she came up and worked for us for a year when we were at Channel 2, and she's been there ever since. Which is funny, because I remember her as a 20-something, 20 to 30-year-old something, you know. And when I came back to Alaska 6 weeks ago, after 20 years of being gone, I got back into the state, and the first place that I stayed overnight was Tok, and I turned on the statewide news product, and there she was, and I'm thinking, my God, girl, you're still good looking, but when did you get old? My goodness. I don't like it. Yeah, when we worked together, we were both 26.
So you just moved back?
Yeah, about 6 weeks ago.
Where were you before?
Arizona. Okay. Are you working with native stuff here too then? Okay. A little bit different, but
Yeah.
a lot of similarities.
I enjoy it.
There you go, getting the shot, honey.